you were doing real estate in 2005, 6, and 7, you probably made a bundle if you got out and didn't keep writing it.
Literally sitting at home being like, I just sold a house today.
Yeah.
I just sold this one. We just bought this. These guys barely got their high school diplomas and they're making $500,000 a year. Like,
it's even if someone gives you the roadmap, it's still, you have to do the work yourself, and it just takes time. No one can go to the gym for you and lift weights for you. No one can go run that mile for you. That's the same thing with business. You just have to jump in there. Welcome to Inside the Hive with Kyle and Brandon. Join us as we explore business, real estate, current events, and personal growth. We dive into the latest trends, offer valuable insight, and share stories. Thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I mean, it's like that period of time, I basically just blend it with this.
Yeah.
Because like I was doing the same thing. I was like, we got that Chase Bank contract at EcoSun, and then we just said like, those energy programs are leaving, and so we're just going to go all in on this retail stuff. And that's when SCG kind of got its legs.
It might be good for me to ask you that portion instead of like, God, how we get started. It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can tell you why mine. I mean, I had like no choice. It was like a necessity.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, you're done with school, buddy. You better fucking
figure
your shit out.
I know the motivation of like why we did it was like, just in the recession, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
So
we came out at the worst time.
The worst time. I mean, 2008? I should have graduated 2007, but I think it was like.
I should have graduated in 2006. I had one class for fucking 2 years. It was
like that. It was like we graduated, no jobs. The whole country's economy is in the toilet. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So we started. I remember going to Paxton's mom's house, and she would bake like brownies and stuff too. I remember that. That was like nice. But we sat at the kitchen table and was coming up with ideas. So it wasn't even that we were good at like a certain thing. Like sometimes that's usually how people start businesses, you know, they're like good at cooking. So they start a restaurant, or they're good at anything. I don't know, carpentry, something.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like it was everyone bring ideas to the table next week. And then it'd be like a Wednesday night. We'd all be meeting literally at the kitchen table.
Yeah, we had like gave each other homework. So it was like we met, me, you, Paxton, and Nolan. I didn't really know who Nolan was. It was your guys' friend.
No, it was Paxton's work buddy.
It was Paxton's work buddy?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that, but it was, we'd go there, different ideas. Oh, should we start a healthy vegetarian restaurant?
Yeah.
Should we start this? And you were working with your buddy doing those attic fans. Is that what it was?
We were doing energy, a radiant barrier. So that was our claim to fame was we were knocking on doors doing radiant barrier. And so and I wanted out of that. Like, this is a horrible business.
I mean, in Scottsdale in Arizona, when it's 115 degrees in the summer and you're crawling around in an attic, that's not a fun job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a fun job. But we decided, wow, Brand's making all this money. Maybe we'll just copy like kind of what Brand's business is, doing it, and try to launch it into something bigger.
Yeah.
And then I remember we're sitting around, and then the name EcoSun, I somehow came up with that.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
We wanted to get into solar at the time. And that was like a trend. There was a lot of rebates for it. And it was something I couldn't break into because you needed like a little more capital.
Yeah.
You really had to like market. And what was our other guys, Paxton's job was like marketing. So he was like, oh, I could throw websites up and I can throw these AdWords. And this was like kind of the beginning stages of like Google AdWords and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he made the phone ring, right? Like when we kind of relaunched the EcoSun thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's a lot of details in between all that, but that was ultimately what it was. Yeah, we were shown I was like had this idea to be like a solar distributor. I had this idea. We had blenders.
I remember a solar distributor.
Restaurant, and he even made like 1-page brochures. Like, here's what the restaurant logo will look like. We're like, man, I opened this how to open a restaurant for dummies, and it said like 90% of these failed from day one. And we're like, okay, let's not do this one. I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
And I've been fired from my other, sandwich making jobs.
I think I was fired from almost every job I had. I was like,
me too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing to be announcing to the world, but I think I had like one or two that stuck. The rest of them, man, it didn't work. I tried to work in a restaurant one time. I worked at, I think you knew, it was college, Rainforest Cafe. Oh my God, man. That was the worst like 3 weeks of career I've ever had. I went there and I was just completely full of it when they were going to hire because somebody I knew worked there and they said they got really good tips and this and that. So I went there and they're like, you have restaurant, waiter experience, server experience. It's like, oh yeah, serving all the time. I'm serving here, serving there, serving everywhere. And I go there and go through the training and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So like the first I shadow this one waitress and finally it was my turn. And I'm carrying out this tray and there's like drinks on it. And I think basic 101 is like you take something off the side of the tray, the other tray, like you have to counterbalance the weight. So I just take like a beer off. The thing just goes like this and I spill beer all over this guy. First, like my first table, like out of like some movie, man, my first table just spills beer all over this dude. And he looks at me and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. I can't. So I stuck it out. But that job was rough because they dress you in this little outfit. So it's a very themed restaurant. Have you ever been to Rainforest Cafe?
Oh, yeah.
So I got it down, man. I was like, I'll be your safari guide for the evening. You got Gloria the Griller here is going to go off every 20 minutes. You got it was a whole thing. It's just embarrassing yourself. I was 20 years old.
Did you ever get to meet the founder of that?
No, but I know it owns by
crazy article about that guy.
Oh, really?
That the way he started that, he turned his house into Rainforest Cafe to attract investors. Spent like,
oh, no
don't
kidding.
quote me on this, but like, let's call it like $3 million. Like he had maybe some success doing something else. Say all his money, like second mortgage of the house, turned it into Rainforest Cafe with parrots driving around.
No kidding.
And like all like the waterfalls and stuff. And people were like, this is kind of interesting. And he got like opened his first restaurant that way. And it was like a $15 million restaurant. Like took fucking 2 years longer than it was supposed to take. And he had real parrots. And
oh my gosh.
Like, you can't have real birds in here, man. He's like, we would take away like the theme.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was like just kind of like just a visionary. Like
we'll call that a visionary. That was, I mean, it's obvious. I think.
Didn't I send that to you?
I don't think you sent it to me, but everybody that sees anything about Rainforest Cafe sends it to me, just because they know the story and they just want to give like a little.
I was a fan. As a younger kid.
I was a fan too as a kid, and I didn't think it was going to be that bad. And then you go there. They had the mist. They had the thing. I forgot the names of all the animals too, but it was like the gorilla had a name, and the lions, and the whole thing, man. And it was, I had a whole speech I had to give, and it wasn't like a bad working environment. I don't want to give, like, I think it's owned by Landry's now that owns Joe's Crab Shack and Red Lobster.
There's still a few of them around. Yeah.
I think there's still a few, but I thought Disney had something to do with it at one point, or there was one at like Disney Walk. I forgot, but it's been so many years.
Definitely. It was a themed
restaurant thing, and it was like I think I want to say like downtown Disney at one point. And it was, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. But
yeah,
you have a lot more. I have a lot more respect for servers after going through that. I remember on Wednesdays there was a kids eat free, but it wasn't like one kid with one adult. It was like kids. So it'd be one adult. And like 9 of these little kids would show up. And I'm just like hustling the little dino chicken fingers and stuff all over the place. And next thing you know, the bill is like $19. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to go broke. Like I can't survive. But it was better because I'm at a roommate at a time, Chief, Chief, my buddy Chief. And he'd come home and he was slinging Christmas trees at the Christmas tree lot. So he would come home, we'd tell stories. And he would say that he'd had to go grab a tree. He'd wrap the tree. He'd put all the stuff together. He'd ring them up. He'd take it. He'd put it on the car. He'd tie it on the car. He'd come back. Owner give him $1. Say, go do it one more time. He'd work all day, 20 trees, get $20. And I was working here and we were like, what the hell? It was an interesting time. He ended up quitting that job, getting a job at Rainforest. I said it was awesome, but I quit. And he kept doing it for a couple months.
Jeez.
But yeah. But then back to what we were saying, that is how we decided none of that. Yeah. Let's go start our own.
We digress here. So, yeah, how did we get to where we are? I mean, it's been an entrepreneurial journey. We get this question a lot where, why'd you start a business? Like, what made you go into that? Oh, you must be so smart. And I have to question myself sometimes. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, well, how did I get here?
I agree with that. I don't. Starting it was out of necessity, I feel like, because we just needed to do something. Then there wasn't like a lot of jobs available at the time. The jobs that we just mentioned, the jobs we had, probably not the best ones. And that's it. And you kind of just, we thought we could make some money. We saw an opportunity with energy efficiency in Arizona. That was really how it was. I think Obama at the time had some environmental rebates and impacts, things like that. That if in Arizona you did energy efficiency for your house and the bill was say $5,000, then you got a rebate for like $3,000 or something crazy like that. So it became easy to sell. And if something was easy to sell, then we could, kind of replicate without knowing much what we're doing. Yeah. I think that's how it started.
Yeah, there was definitely a market there. Yeah. I remember, coming out of college, kind of in the Great Recession here. We got these awesome degrees on paper, and I had an internship even with what I probably should have been doing, like my engineering world and my engineering degree. And I had to take a job for $10 an hour counting nuts and bolts in the back of this warehouse for a while. I'm like, wow, man, this took a turn. One. Yeah. But that gave me the opportunity to kind of like go out there and try to, had a buddy at the time was like, let's go knock on doors and sell like attic insulation. My dad did it and it was pretty cool and it's easy.
Yeah.
And that was our summer little like gig. And then we really blew that up though.
Yeah.
Meeting all together and kind of come with these business ideas. I remember seeing guys previous to that, the recession, where they were doing real estate stuff like homes. They were doing residential homes. They were kind of this entrepreneur. I think they could just print money at that time. Yeah. They were just, they would sight unseen, go make $100,000 selling a house somewhere. I'm like, how is this even possible? And I'm in college, just grinding, broke. And, and I'm like, how are these guys? These guys didn't even graduate high school, some of them.
Yeah.
And they were making $500,000
what
a year.
Was that,
like,
2006,
something's not right.
2007 or something like that?
Like that 05, 04, 6, 7, all the way up into that when it literally things just collapsed.
Exactly. If you were doing real estate in 2005, 6, and 7, you probably made a bundle if you got out and didn't keep writing it, because that 2008 hits 2009, and it fell off a cliff.
I mean, it was like, I just remember seeing housewives like literally sitting at home being like, I just sold a house today.
Yeah.
I just sold this one. We just bought this. And it's like, wow. So to me, it was like something was off too. I'm like, why am I in college? These guys just barely got their high school diplomas and they're making $500,000 a year. Like something's off here. Well, it definitely took a turn for the worse there.
Yeah.
But that's right when we came out of school and there was nothing available. I mean, everything dried up. All infrastructure jobs for me, any business jobs out there, everyone was laying people off. And it was bad times.
It was.
So I think it was kind of like out of seeing like one of my friends doing that, like going, hey, I think there might be something here. Then having bigger visions with you and a couple of our other friends, literally meeting at our friend's mom's kitchen table, being like, let's start a business because there's nothing else to do. Either that or I got to keep counting bolts at this guy's warehouse.
Yeah.
Or why don't we start a business, like try and figure this out ourselves here?
And that's really what it was. We met at Paxton's mom's house every Wednesday, I want to say. It was like every Wednesday we met at Paxton's mom's house and went over business ideas. And eventually we came up with want to do solar or the energy efficiency, basically replicate what you were kind of doing, installing solar fans and things in radiant barrier in people's attics. And that's how we were going to grow with it. And that was basically it. We came up with the name EcoSun. We drafted.
I give you credit for that. Kyle came up with a great name.
Yes, I'm a pretty good namer.
Got the West Hive. SCG maybe was more collaborative. Yeah. It was a silver.
Background there. A little background on that. But yes, naming is, I don't have a lot of the skill sets in this development and construction management, but I can name the shit out of things. So so we started doing that. And I remember that at the time, Nolan, who I didn't know very well, was just like, this isn't for me, and just wanted out immediately. Yeah. I think we drafted up like a partnership agreement and signed it. Like a week later, he's like, you guys keep doing this. Yeah. So it was me, you, and Paxton. And then I actually, like you said, there was no jobs. I get a job offer from my dad. It was almost like my stepmom. They never officially got married, but they were dating for like 10 years. She had a company in California, in Southern California, environmental, doing environmental study, phase 1, phase 2, so people know what that is. And she's like, you come out here and you can work kind of like a paid intern type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, I want to take this. So I moved to Irvine. I moved to Newport Beach in Irvine and worked there for about a year. But working in that environment, I learned a ton. I was, I did some underwriting for these big projects. I learned how to underwrite for developments. I learned how environmental studies and impact reports worked and things like that. But it was difficult working with someone so close to family. And I was so broke because I only got paid, I think it was 13, $14 or something. It was not a lot of money at the time, of an hour. And I remember calling you guys back and be like, hey, I'm coming back to Arizona, man. That didn't work out. I came back and I got you guys had made some progress. He made some significant progress. And Paxton was still working at his full-time job at Chapman Auto. You were all in. I wasn't all in yet, but Paxton wasn't all in either. But I came back, I was like, hey, I'm ready to be all in. I got no job, I have nothing. And there was this certification, I remember, from BPI, the Building Performance Institute. And we went through this program and got certified to be an energy auditor. And that was, they made it seem like once you're an energy auditor, I mean, a Lamborghini is coming next month because it's like your world is your oyster. You are going to just crush it in life. I'm like, you're getting $300 an audit. You're doing 19 audits a day. It's like, what? So it was just, I don't even know what they were trying to pitch us, but I got this degree, I got this certification. And come back and like, hey man, I know you're outsourcing this auditing, but I can do that now, and we'll get the ball rolling. And that was kind of it. And you go to people's houses. There was a program with the utility companies in Arizona where there was like a rebate or something where people would get, and you could go do these energy audits, and they would pay the auditor. And I did that that was my contribution to the company, was doing these energy audits in 115 degrees, crawling through these attics, and that job sucked. So checking the HVAC, checking the leakage of the windows, going through and doing this full energy audit of these homes. And that was it. And we did that for a while. And I think the rebates were drying up or something. I mean, you might want to touch more on that. And we decided, let's kind of expand to California at the time and get into not energy efficiency, regular construction, right? It was something like that.
I think we actually, we did expand the energy business, energy efficient business to California. It just never stuck. We were attracted to all these rebates. So these were like a lot of big cities, states had these rebate programs. And we came out here with setting, with that path, but it just never stuck. And Arizona was starting to dwindle down a little bit. It was super competitive. Then they started drying up a little bit, and they got, they were just kind of like cutting people, and then the audits were drying up, and maybe the economy was getting better. This is 2010, 11, 12 at this point.
Yeah, that's about right.
And so things were starting to kind of come back. People were getting jobs, and the rebates had a shelf life. And so I think, when we came out here, we ended up really going all in on like retail construction. So that's when we really started up that side of the company. Got lucky with like Chase Bank, and did a big rollout for them out west, and that, I think that's where our career really started, 2012. In the retail world, like we were doing all this residential stuff, got this opportunity, went all in on this. Not that we really knew what we were doing, but we could manage a project. I guess we could hire a couple contractors to put some flooring in the banks. And, we were young, so we didn't mind working at night and traveling and whatever that took. Yeah. And then I ever since then, we just went after the retail world. So.
Yeah, I remember that as coming to California, and they had tons of these rebates available. But the difference between Arizona and California is, I think Arizona and I believe it's Minnesota have the two biggest differentials in climate. It's like Minnesota goes so negative in the winters, at like negative 20, 30 degrees. Then it goes, 90 degrees with the humidity in the summer. There's a big differential. Well, Arizona is number 2, where it gets freezing cold in the winter and then 120 degrees in the summer. So that's why energy efficient, these houses, when you put in heating and cooling, you needed this. Well, California may have all the rebates in the world, but you come here and you got an ocean breeze or something like that, and the demand wasn't there. And that's basic economics. Was supply and demand. And that was something we overlooked. There was a demand more